Morning in Evening Shade. People are beginning to stir. I'm Ponda Blue, and this is Blue's Barbecue Villa, home of the hottest sauce and oldest jukebox in Arkansas. And
I stumbled across a TV show from the 90s that I totally forgot about. I ended up binging all 4 seasons in like a week and a half, and now I think everyone should do the same because this show is so good, especially rewatching it now as an adult. Y'all, I need to talk about Evening Shade.
Let me just ask you something. Is it true what they say about all black men?
yeah,
Frida, there's something about you that's not right.
Are you saying that girls aren't as smart as guys?
Isn't it illegal for lawyers to argue with regular people?
You know, if I didn't know you any better, I'd say that you sound like a male chauvinist.
See, that's the trouble with this country. People are afraid to be chauvinists anymore. You don't want to stand up for what's right.
Evening Shade was a sitcom that aired on CBS from 1990 to 1994, and the lead actor was the biggest movie star of the 1970s, Burt Reynolds. He played Woodrow Wood Newton, a former NFL player for the Pittsburgh Steelers who returns to the rural small town of Evening Shade, Arkansas after he retires to coach a high school football team with a really long losing streak.
It's so funny.
Well, you may not think it's funny.
Coach Newton fired?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I knew this was going to happen. So what if you lost 30 games in a row? Who cares?
Reynolds may have been the biggest star on Evening Shade, but he was just one of an insane ensemble cast. The story goes like this. TV writer and producer Linda Bloodworth Thomason had created the hit show Designing Women in the late 1980s, which included a character named Charlene, played by Jean Smart, who was from the small town of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. It was a long-running gag throughout the series. That character was based on Bloodworth Thomason's own life, as she was actually from Poplar Bluff, which has a high school whose mascot is the Mules. And I know that because Poplar Bluff is right down the road from where I was born and raised. So, Missouri girl Thomason, who is married to Arkansas native Harry Thomason, another TV producer who also oversaw Designing Women, wanted to do another half-hour show for CBS that was actually based in a small town. They planned it for over a year, and they came up with the name of Evening Shade because that was the name of a real life town near the Arkansas Missouri border. And get this, the name was suggested to Linda Bloodworth Thomason by her bestie, the First Lady of Arkansas at the time, Hillary freaking Clinton. But let's not let that detail bother us because this show is awesome. Even though the show was called Evening Shade, it was really based on Linda's memories of growing up in Poplar Bluff.
Personally, I'm not getting into the Christmas spirit this year. It's gotten too commercial for me.
You're not gonna dress up as Santa Claus over at the hospital?
No, I'm mad. Everybody got together and decided that in order to promote good health, they would use a thinner Santa.
Right. Another tradition down the drain. Now they want a trendy, thin Santa Claus. Next thing you know, he won't even be based at the North Pole. He'll be working out of Southern California, he'll have a therapist, and he'll be questioning his commitment to Mrs. Claus.
Harry Thomason told the LA Times in 1991 that they were desperately trying to think of a cast for this show because Linda did things a little differently. She gets the cast first and then she writes the scripts. So they sat in a room with CBS executives and went through the Screen Actors Guild catalogs, but they couldn't come up with anybody. Finally, Linda said, "What we need is somebody like Burt Reynolds." So they decided to make a phone call to see if they could possibly get the real deal. What they didn't know then, but soon found out, was that Reynolds was looking for a sitcom in which to star. A veteran of more than 40 films at the time, Reynolds had returned to television in 1989 in a detective series called B.L. Stryker, but it didn't catch on, so Reynolds began considering other options. He ultimately accepted Linda's offer of Evening Shade, and when she asked Burt what he would have done if he hadn't been an actor, the Smokey and the Bandit star said he would probably have been a football coach. So Reynolds' character in Evening Shade was instantly transformed from the journalist that Thompson had been contemplating to Wood Newton, who, after a 15-year pro career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, returns to his hometown to coach the perennial last-place high school football team. Once they had Burt Reynolds attached to the project, the plan was to seek out a dream cast from film, theater, and television to portray the town's amiable, eclectic characters. They wanted Tony Award winners, and Emmy winners, and seasoned TV vets. And they got everyone they wanted. Reynolds was a central character, the one the stories revolved around. Playing his wife, Ava, the local district attorney, who was 15 years his junior, was Taxi alum Mary Lou Henner.
You know, why is it that men love to turn everything into some kind of competition? No, here you take something that's so private and intimate between two people and you reduce it to something that should be on ESPN.
Her dad, Evan Evans, the editor of the town newspaper, was played by 5-time Emmy winner Hal Holbrook. Ponder Blue, the owner of the local barbecue joint that everyone hung out in, was the multi-award-winning Ossie Davis. The town doctor, Harlan Eldridge, was played by World War II vet and character actor Charles Durning, a star of both stage and screen, and the role of his wife, Merlene, went to Tony Award winner Ann Wedgeworth. Frida Evans, Ava's aunt and Evan's sister, was played by the incredible Elizabeth Ashley, a Tony and Golden Globe winner. And there's also Tony winner Michael Jeter, who played Wood's assistant football coach Herman Stiles.
Hey, where are you preaching tonight?
Wow.
Coach, you got to put this business behind you. Yeah. Look, you've had a solid workmanlike career.
That's true.
Yeah, you won a conference championship. You set a few records. It's not your fault that Terry Bradshaw came along, broke those records right out of the book. Won 4 Super Bowls, wear 4 Super Bowl rings, went on to become a network sports commentator. I mean, you got to say to yourself, I set those records, they're mine.
They ended up assembling such a stellar cast for Evening Shade that the cost of each episode would have added up to $1 million or more. That wasn't an option in 1990, so they had to come up with a creative solution to keep the budget manageable. What they did was allow the actors, with the exception of Reynolds and Henner, to come and go as they pleased. Instead of the entire ensemble filming every episode each season, the star-studded cast each did about 10 to 17 episodes per year. This allowed the stage actors to continue doing shows on Broadway and then drop into Evening Shade whenever their schedules allowed.
I think you're jealous because you're paler than the rest of us. My advice to you is get tan, get happy.
My advice to you is don't lie naked under a light bulb. Remember, in a small town like this, you're not remembered for the best thing you do. You're remembered for the dumbest thing you do. I don't get it. Do you get it?
I get it. They're all trying to look like me.
You want my opinion?
Well, is that strange?
Well, you never asked me my opinion about anything before.
Well, then I guess we're having a moment.
Well, let me know when it passes.
I don't know, there's something about guys, when they get together, how they just act so superior to women, that it makes me feel competitive.
Well, I guess they won't compete with us anymore.
Damn right. We slam dunked them and they deserved it.
Linda Bloodworth Thomason wrote scripts the weekend before each episode started filming, and she would write a script based on which actors were going to be there that week. This was obviously going to be a different type of show. The creator wanted to show that small-town hicks can be very intelligent and very sophisticated and very complicated. She said that the goal on Evening Shade was the same kind of familial love that you felt in Annie Griffith's Mayberry, but with a 1990s sophisticated veneer on it. Linda said, I resist the word sitcom. I say they give us 23 minutes and we fill it the best way we can. It's a little play we put on each week, a little video novel. I think that the characters on television, because they are in your living room every week, have the potential of having the same attraction for an audience as the people in novels. Evening Shade premiered with the 1-hour episode on September 21st, 1990, and the general theme of the show was the appeal of small-town life. This aspect was so authentic, which is why I love it so much. It wasn't a portrayal of a Midwest small town from the viewpoint of a Hollywood writer. You can tell this show is made with love by someone who grew up in that environment with those kinds of characters. The opening segment included clips from around Arkansas or younger photos of the ensemble cast, and episodes often ended with a closing narration by Ossie Davis as his character Ponder Blue, summing up the events of the episode and always closing with the line, in a place called Evening Shade. Now here's the thing. Linda Bloodworth Thomason is an outspoken feminist, and she did sprinkle cultural and social issues into her scripts. But unlike shows today, the message wasn't being preached every week on Evening Shade. These scripts were so good, but they weren't filled with belly laughs. The show was abundant in heartfelt acting and quiet humor. I love the family dynamic among the Newtons and the vibe of the small Arkansas town. But what really stands out to me is how different the show is when watching it as an adult compared to when I was a teenager.
We can talk about this more in the morning.
Yeah, I can hardly wait.
Hey,
Well, we certainly destroyed his world.
Well, we've done our job as parents.
Dad, he drives a 1992 Mazda Miata. I drive a 10-speed Blue Streak Huffy with a basket. He's like MacGyver, and I'm like Opie Taylor.
Okay, I told you can use the station wagon anytime you want to.
Dad, I don't want to use the station wagon. I don't want to have to drive a car with Pampers and a baby seat in it. I want to be able to drive a real car.
Got any real money?
No.
Can't buy a real car.
The interactions between the parents and kids were so enjoyable to watch. And that time period, the early 90s, right before the internet started popping up in everyone's household, is just such a comforting thing to witness. The lack of tech makes the story so much better and often reminds the viewer just how difficult it could be to get a hold of someone before the days of cell phones. And the one thing that I really loved, despite Bloodworth Thomason's raging feminism, is how the marriage between Wood and Ava is portrayed, how much they love and support each other, and how they raise their kids. Despite the 15-year age difference between them, which is a running gag throughout the series, the relationship just works.
Anything I am or ever will be, you're a part of. And any problem that you have, I want to help you solve it.
I also love how Reynolds' character is a strong, masculine man who is the respected leader of his household. I think the Newtons just might be one of the best TV families ever.
You think we did the right thing, don't you?
Oh, yeah. No, our kids behave very badly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ashamed of them. They didn't even make that card for Daddy. On the other hand, this is pretty shocking.
The women in Evening Shade were full of Southern wisdom, and they were proud of being wives and mothers, while some also pursued careers outside of the home.
I'm kind of afraid to have a baby, because in one of the chapters in our science book, it kind of sounded like that movie Alien.
Oh, honey. Well, you don't have to worry about that for a long, long time. But when you're older and you fall in love, and you get married and you really want to have a baby, it's not very scary at all.
The men were dealing with the changing relationship dynamics of the time, as well as societal changes. But despite their occasional goofiness and physical comedy, each man was competent and well respected in his own way. I also like that the show was part of the actual real world, as Reynolds' character was a former Steeler, and many famous people of the time made cameos as themselves, like Terry Bradshaw, Kenny Rogers, and Reba McEntire. There were also references in the script to real-life people, like Burt Reynolds' wife at the time, Lonnie Anderson.
Yeah. Hey, you ever run into that Lonnie Anderson out there?
Have any idea where these kids might be?
All I know is she said she was staying overnight with Chelsea Clinton when Taylor come over and kidnapped her.
He didn't kidnap her.
Well, can we call Chelsea and ask her if she knows anything?
I've already done that.
There's also appearances by many young actors who went on to do bigger things later in their careers. J.R. Ferguson, the actor who played oldest son Taylor Newton, and the reason I watched Evening Shade when I was 14, went on to appear in Mad Men and The Connors. There were also characters played by Hilary Swank, Leah Remini, and Billy Bob Thornton.
To tell the truth, you people are just boring.
You will not find a better group of actors or characters in a TV sitcom than what's in every episode of Evening Shade. Evening Shade ran on CBS for 4 seasons and regularly hit the top 20 in the ratings. In 1991, Burt Reynolds won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, and in 1992, Michael Jeter won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. Evening Shade was a hit, with both audiences and critics. But when the final episode aired on May 23, 1994, Thomason, Reynolds, and the rest of the cast was under the impression that they would be coming back for a season 5. 3 weeks prior to the final episode, Reynolds said on Larry King Live that Evening Shade had been renewed, and that had been confirmed by CBS President Howard Stringer. But a few weeks later, Reynolds got a call telling him that the show had been canceled. He tried to end the series with some class and a finale, and asked if they could do one more season with a smaller budget. He also suggested that they do each episode live, since the cast was filled with Broadway actors, but the network said no. When CBS announced their fall '94 primetime schedule without Evening Shade, they gave no explanation about why the series had gotten the axe. But chances are it had to do with Reynolds' nasty, scandalous divorce from Lonnie Anderson that was all over the tabloids. At the time, there was a media frenzy that led from one embarrassing story to another. Next came reports of fights on the Evening Shade set, and then Reynolds was hospitalized after he collapsed while filming the series. Doctors blamed stress.
You say it's your 20th anniversary?
Yeah.
Bullshit, I read the tabloids. You never made it past 5.
There was also a management shakeup at CBS, and the boss who eventually took over, Les Moonves, did not like Linda Bloodworth Thomason. Despite her $50 million deal with CBS, Moonves refused to greenlight any other series that she pitched after Evening Shade was canceled. So that's the story of Evening Shade, and all the reasons I love this show so much. I can't figure out why I forgot about this series. It's so stinking good. All 4 seasons are available for free on YouTube, and the link to that playlist is in the description below. These videos were from the original broadcast 30 plus years ago, so the quality can be a bit rough at times. You can also find some episodes on Amazon Prime Video if you have a subscription, and if you want to add to your physical media collection, you can buy the entire series on DVD for just $30. Speaking of that, I have a purchase I need to make. And really quick before I go, I have to add this little PS to my video because there was really nowhere else to put it in the script, but I really need to share this. It's about Mary Lou Henner. She is one of the few people on Earth who has the ability called superior autobiographical memory, which means she can remember almost every day of her life.
Mary Lou Henner has always been famous for remembering everything.
Hey Mom, what day was Valentine's Day in '79?
It was a Wednesday.
And you're right. I've never explained how you do that.
I don't do it, I just see it.
And you can remember your whole life?
Yes, I can remember my whole life.
Picking at random an episode of Taxi, filmed more than 30 years ago.
Thank you very much.
I had a look at the Taxi episode from 1978, Come As You Aren't. Do you remember
that
it?
was the 4th episode that we shot, and I had the blue dress on.
Alex?
See, that was going to be my first question to you.
What
Do you
dress?
remember what colour dress you wore to the party?
Yes. And,
So
and I remember Tony's line, how come we can't go to the party too?
How come we can't go to the party too?
This just blew me away, and I put a link to her 60 Minutes interview from 2010 where she explains how it all works in the description below. It's absolutely insane to watch. And now this video is really over. Okay, bye.
And so ends another Sadie Hawkins week, when anything can happen. When a boy can move a little closer to becoming a man, and a man can let the little boy hidden inside leap out once again to laugh and play on the cool lawns of a place called Evening Shade.